Welcome to the Raging Hardom podcast. I'm your host, Brian Banks. This is where we get raw and real and talk about all these fucking feelings. If you're ready, I'm ready. We have a special guest today, Martin Diaz. He is a life coach. He helps others along their journey to healing and finding true joy and happiness in their life. I'm excited he's here with us today. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please hit that subscribe button. Today, we're going to talk about these fucking feelings with Martin Diaz. I'm really excited you're here, mostly because we haven't had anybody that does life coaching. Like, we've had a therapist on. Well, actually, he's a professor, but you're going to be something new. And I think a lot of people hear life coach or spiritual, whatever. You can tell us all how you prefer to be called, like what your spiritual pronouns are, and then we will then we'll go from there. But yeah, Martin, so tell us who you are, what you do.
So I'm actually a spiritual life coach, as you said. I'm also a Reiki healing practitioner and a breathwork guide. So it's all kind of mixed together, all in one. I'm Mexican. I'm originally from Mexico, was born there. Didn't move to the U.S. until I was 3 years old. So I was basically raised here, right, in San Diego. And I grew up in San Diego. I grew up in the United States, kind of with a more quote-unquote American way of thinking, right? But yet at home, it was still a Mexican, conservative, more traditional way of being raised. So I had those things growing up. I am.
Was it like a traditional, like religious Latino home?
Well, see, this is the thing about Mexicans. And I can't speak for all of Latin America, right? But I know in Mexico for sure, Catholicism just like runs through the DNA of that country. It doesn't matter if you're religious. It doesn't matter if you go to church. You know, it's like the Catholic values are still very present in that world, right?
To me, I mean, of course, I'm not Mexican. I didn't grow up there. But we have a lot of immigrants here where I'm at that come from Mexico. And one of the things that's been so amazing to see is for us to see, I know I have friends that say it's more of a curse than a blessing, but to see how they cling to their families, and families are everything. It's really been nice to see that, just because that's not the American way, you know. The American way, you get old, we're putting your ass in a home, and
that is, I mean, it's nice to have. I mean, and I don't know if you hear a lot about this, but at least when I'm online, like the word codependency is like pretty big, and it's nice to be codependent, right? In a way, but it's really when you get emotionally codependent, that's when things start to get a little weird, which is what I'm sure some of the people that you hear, you know, saying that it could be a curse, like maybe because it's more than just regular family love, codependent. You know what I mean? It takes it beyond that, where they're really trying to just regulate each other's emotions
well, and you know, my partner is Venezuelan, very Catholic country. So, but there's still that Latino mom thing. A lot of shame and guilt. A lot of shame and guilt.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They are experts.
I don't want to say manipulation, but I love my mother-in-law. But there's some emotional,
I mean,
puppeteering there.
It's, you know, sometimes I mean, manipulation can also have a very bad connotation, right? But sometimes you just don't know. I mean, everybody is kind of manipulates in one way or another, right? Or tries to.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it takes a lot of emotional regulation and you really being centered and knowing who you are to not manipulate in one way or another. I mean, of course, sometimes it's like simple stuff, right? But other times it's like mischievous. But I don't think, you know, in that way, I'm sure that's generational trauma for mothers because that's what they learned. You know, at least like my mom is the same. My mom is exactly the same. I know that my grandma was the same as her, you know. That's just how they control. My mom's side of the family is a matriarchy, and so they wear the pants.
Yeah.
They're like,
the women really are like, when it comes to family and the family unit, the women are kind of the head of that. I do notice that even in his family, like moms are really important and they are sort of the glue that forces the family together. Yeah. So you grew up in Mexico.
So I was 3, but I visited all the time, and so
Do you speak Spanish?
I do. It was my first language. English is my second language. I didn't learn English until kindergarten.
Do you dream in Spanish or do you dream in English?
You know, mostly in English at this point, but there are times where I think it just depends on the situation and who I'm with, right? Because sometimes if I'm dreaming about my family, I dream in Spanish. But like
Really?
most of the time it's in English.
Yeah, my partner, he said that was like a really profound moment when he stopped dreaming in Spanish. He only dreams in English. He said even when it's about people that speak Spanish, they now speak English in his dreams. So, but he's been here. He's been here longer than he was there.
Yeah, me too. Does his family mostly speak Spanish, or do they speak English too?
They were here for Christmas. They got here December 1st and left like January 7th. We had his mom, who I flew her in as a surprise because we were bringing his brother and sister-in-law that she had not seen in years and years, and the new grandbaby. So we did this huge surprise, brought her. She had no idea. And then the next morning we get up and his dad is at our front door. He has flown from Venezuela and told no one he was coming because they're not together anymore. But yeah, I answered the door. I'm like, who is this guy? I've never met his dad. So it turned out to be such an amazing holiday because it had been, for all of them to be together, it had been 20 years for them to be together on Christmas. So it was really cool. But yeah, they all speak Spanish.
Yeah, that must have been so nice for your husband, like having both of his parents in the same celebration.
It took a few days because there was really not a relationship between his dad and himself. And yeah, it took a few days, but it turned out to be a really magical, and it was really important for all of them. And there was some major healing done. But yeah, so does all of your family live here?
Just my parents, siblings, and I have a couple aunts and uncles, but like 99% of my family lives in Mexico.
A big family? Do you have a lot of siblings?
Yeah, so I have a brother and a sister. They're way younger. So there's a 14-year age gap between me and my brother. So I was an only child until I was 14, essentially. And there's 3, so there's only 3 of us. So they're little babies right now. But I love them so much. I mean, it was growing up with them. I was like a third parent, like an uncle, you know, because of the gap. I always joke that my mom had a built-in babysitter, like a free one all the time, because I was old enough to babysit when they were really little. And I mean, it was nice. It's nice to see them. It's nice to see them now because, you know, as you know, right, when the kids grow up, like they get their own personalities and they start to see the world in their own way. And it's just so amazing to see that, like them as little and like, you know, all grown up. And now it's like nice to talk to them about real things, real things, and instead of like, you know, like little kid cartoon toy games and stuff.
So what age did you come out to your family?
I was 20 when I came out. Really, I was in a closet, but I joked that I was in a glass closet, right? Because it was just obvious as a little kid to everyone, right, except me. They didn't take it too well. Like my mom didn't talk to me for months after that. So that was kind of uncomfortable. It was, I mean, her own grieving process, right? And even now, you know, like it's not something that like they openly will talk about or are curious about either, you know? And there was a time where I was like really upset about that, right? Like there was years where I was just like, why don't you accept me? Like, you know, like a lot of inner turmoil that I wanted. Like still needed their approval, you know? But after doing a lot of the work that I do on myself, right, that I do with my clients, I came not to a conclusion, but I feel like I just don't need it anymore, right? And like I accept them for who they are because I realized, okay, how am I asking for their approval 100% of me where I'm really not accepting them for who they are, you know, like fully. Yeah. Yeah. People just do what they can with what they've got at the moment, right? For
Yeah.
the most part, that's usually like a rule of thumb. And so it took a long time for me to realize that too, but it's nice to see, right? And
If anybody had seen the way my dad was, trust me, your family has way more hope than anyone would have put into mine. It was not good. But what about your siblings?
Mhm. Oh, I
Are
mean, they're
they?
totally cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, now as they get older, you know, they're more curious about stuff and they ask me a lot of questions. Um, but yeah, they were even from when I told them, right? Because I didn't tell them right away. My mom also was like, you can't tell them. I'm like, but they're not dumb, you know? Even though they were very little. They were like 6 and 4 or something. I was like, they're gonna see, you know, but kids nowadays, it's so normal to them. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
would talk
I
to my
mean,
little sister, and there were so many queer people, so many queer
when they've
kids
grown up in a
at
world that
school.
it is so much more visible than when I was younger. How old are you now?
I'm 34.
30, you're a baby. I'm 10 years older than you. So,
Yeah, we're all
gosh.
babies. We're all babies, really.
Yes, because I hate it. I really feel like I feel like I'm younger than you, actually. Like, I see all these adults and I'm one of them. And I talk about old people and I'm like, I'm one of them. Like, it doesn't feel like you're there, but you're
Hmm.
there. Yeah.
You just have
And,
experience. That's it. You know, I think it's just babies with experience.
oh, yeah, yeah. And what got you into like looking for something more? What was really the trigger that set you off to go, I fucking want to be happy. I want joy.
Well, you know, I mean, I grew up. I mean, I've always had a really vibrant personality, right? And just been like a really happy child. But there's also a big side of me that, like, it's two sides of the spectrum, two sides of the coin, right? There's also a very dark side, and I just always felt sad and lonely, depressed. You know, a lot of it turned into anxiety later, but then I would like mask it with like drinking, right? As I got older, I was in a fraternity in college, and so it was so easy for me to just like get drunk and really like hide, right, and suppress all the dark stuff. But and even when I came out, even after I came out, those habits were still there, and so it's like I was still drinking, but there was like that another part of me that knew that wasn't it, that's not what I wanted to do. There was a lot of also alcoholism and drug addiction in my family. And so there was always that shame of drinking, right? Even if it was just like a little bit or whatever it was, I felt deep shame. So I was like, I can't be living with all of this inside of me all at once. And so I mean, it wasn't until my late 20s, right, that I was like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I went to therapy first, and it really wasn't for me at first. Like I think I didn't have the best therapist for me. Um, they really made me just play the blame game, you know, my parents. And I think that's what spiraled, right? And that's what made me be like, oh my God, accept me too. Um, it was just not what I wanted to do. So but I still knew that there was more, right? Because I knew that I had to work through whatever was inside of me. I was unfulfilled. I was like working at a job that like outside seemed amazing. It's like making a lot of money, but it was just leaving me unfulfilled, right? Like I would do all these things to try and make me happy. Like I would look for everything outside of myself. Right? Like I was still drinking, which all of these things are easy to do because they're fun, right? Like you drink and you go out and it's fun. And then you go and travel with your friends and it's fun, right? Like you spend all this money on stuff, whatever, right? It's fun. And so, but it still wasn't making me happy. So I knew I had to like continue kind of searching, right? And it wasn't really until COVID that I really took it more seriously. I was able to like just do a lot more self-reflection, right? I had like a spiritual awakening of sorts, and everything just started to make sense. Right? Like I started putting all these pieces together, like why I was quote unquote the way I was, like what led to this point. And I really like that was like the time where I was like, okay, if I am the problem, I'm also the solution, right? Like it's all in here. It's all in here.
You noticed all of
So
those. You noticed like your life, like having unhealthy coping, but I mean, to hear you tell it, it sounds like it's not that bad. Like, was there any one thing that made you go, I fucking need therapy? Like, what made you seek out the therapist? Like, how did you know? You just had a knowing
I
in
mean, I
you,
would
like you
like,
didn't
I
feel.
mean, whenever I drank, it was like a shit show, you know? And I would always like, I would wake up in strangers' beds all the time. I would just make a fool of myself doing stupid stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't really like one moment, but it really, everything added up. And I mean, the shame in and of itself, I don't know if you've ever experienced that, right? But it didn't matter if I did nothing, if I had two drinks, you know what I mean? It's like the shame consumes you. It's like gets really bad. And even like the hangover anxiety the next day. I was like, could just continue with that. There's no way. Like my best friend, he has always gone to therapy, right? Or as long as I can remember. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I can do this. Then I had another friend who was kind of into that. So I was like, okay, well, maybe this is what I need to do, right? Again, following other people's leads to kind of do something that was right for me. But that's kind of what like kickstarted. I mean, there was just like so many things, right? That like it was like a
Yeah.
chronic pain instead of like a car crash type of thing, because
I
like the
was
whole
just,
time it felt like rock bottom,
I was so
or like just like
stubborn. Like, it took some real shitty moments. But I will say, when the change finally started, when I really started to look for something deeper, like something more profound, something, I think I was just looking for something more simple, but didn't know it. Um, I just got super uncomfortable. Like, I had it all. I mean,
mhm.
and I just couldn't feel, it didn't feel like I thought it was going to feel. And it was like the universe was just making me so fucking uncomfortable until I was like, what gives? Like, why can't I be happy? I guess some people would say it was depression. I don't know. I really think it was the universe, like, making me uncomfortable enough to look for more.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is, right? Like it's a dark moment. I mean, I'm sure it's a kind of depression. That's how I felt too. Like it was just like the universe takes you there. You take yourself there, or however you want to say it, right? For some people it's God, right? But um it takes you there because it's trying to show you, right, to that you can get to the other side. It's almost like we have to go through this stuff um to then be almost an example that you can get out of it. Because even, I mean, sure, it's been the same for you, right? Like the more that you talk about your process, what you went through, you share that with other people, the more that they're curious, they want to do it, they
Yeah.
feel it, right? So it doesn't only affect you, it affects everybody around you. And so I think you have to go through that darkness to be able to share this light, the gift, right? That
I
it
mean, I
is.
sort of feel like I am still, sometimes I feel like I'm still learning the basics, just learning to be real, learning to have like a real voice, an authentic voice. And yesterday, I mean, I recorded a whole podcast and last week. And as I'm editing it, I just had knots in my stomach. It just, something didn't align with me and didn't agree with me, because the whole point of this podcast was for people to share like real, unfiltered shit and how they got through it, what they learned in it. And this, it just kind of turned into an angry rant. And it didn't feel good. And I was like, this is all I have. Like, this is edited. I put so much work into this. And at the last minute, something was going on with the files, and which kind of delayed me to start. And I jumped in, edited another podcast that came out last night, like with no time to go. And immediately that feeling was gone that I had in the pit of my stomach. And it's not to judge anybody. It just didn't align with where I'm at or what I want. And I'm going to tell you, like, it was a popular guest. It would have had lots and lots of listens, and it would have had tons of clicks, but it still wouldn't have been true to me. And I got up this morning before I went to the gym and sat in my car, and I was like, did I do this because I'm a people pleaser and I'm scared what people would think of me? Or did I do this because I'm a peacekeeper and it wasn't worth the war that this would have caused or the pain it would have caused somebody else? Because I have opinions. I have strong opinions. I mean, I'm a fucking Scorpio. Like, I think my opinions are valid and probably the most valid. They're not. And I did realize this morning, no, I wasn't being a people pleaser, because the people pleaser in me would have put it out there afraid of what that guest thought. And as soon as I got clear with myself, it was like the universe just continued to give me signs to say, you can trust yourself. You did the right thing. But yeah, I'm learning. I'm still learning. It's all new, but it's exciting to be able to trust myself, not just trust myself, but that little kid in me that was kicking me in the gut yesterday, that inner child, was trying to tell me something and I wasn't listening. And this morning I took control. I promised him I would protect him. He didn't have to throw tantrums anymore. And he calmed the fuck down. But he needed to be heard. Yeah, so I'm learning. It's all new to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was beautiful, and you had to go through that, right? So that you would next time be able to be like, okay, I'm only going to do stuff that's in alignment for me. I'm only going to talk about, and because if you continue with the podcast, right, you're going to have all kinds of guests all the time. And you can't really control what they say.
It wasn't the guest.
It was you.
I edited, and I was a people pleaser in that episode, and I was not true to myself, and I got caught up in the excitement, and I wasn't being honest. And I watched it and I thought, who the fuck is that? Like, who are you trying to impress? Like, what are you doing? Why are you not saying anything? Why are you agreeing to this? Like, you're not in agreement with this. And yeah, the truth is, I was not authentic. I wasn't. And I was ashamed of being caught up in trying to be exciting. And that's the struggle with all of this. TikTok, this, social media, it takes me having to be clear over and over with myself. Why are you doing this? What is the purpose? Because if the purpose is for people to like me, that's easy. I mean, of course, I'd have to go on a diet and hit the gym, and then I would just post naked pictures. But I'm not there. Like, now I want this to be helpful to somebody. I want somebody to be able to hear someone else's story and get something out of it. I want people to hear from you if I would shut the fuck up and let you talk. That would be awesome. Um, about
I mean,
coaching and how you
no,
don't do that.
that's it's true though. It's you're I'll say one thing though, but it's true because you know you say you want to be helpful, right? And the best way I think that we can be helpful is by being ourselves and staying true to ourselves, right? Because you're doing a disservice, and you would have done a disservice to your listeners if you would have, been pleasing or you know, just validating the your guest when you didn't really mean to. And all of that comes with practice. You know what I mean? It really comes with practice. Getting to know yourself and really being in tune. What I do is every morning I try to connect to myself. You know what I mean? Or my inner child, whatever it is that you kind of need, and just have them like on my shoulder, like throughout the day for everything, not just when they need you, but like because you see the benefit of even communicating with part of yourself, right? And so just keeping them almost like including them in your day to day. You know what I mean? Include them when you go to the, and it sounds simple. Sometimes it sounds corny, right, to some people, but it really does work. It does work.
I mean, I still have to ask my therapist, or not ask her because it's not her to say, but I will look at my therapist after I tell a heartfelt story, and then I'll go, I don't know if I said that because I wanted you to like me or if I really mean that. And it has been a practice of going and being humble enough to say, I could be lying to you right now because I really want you to like me. And she laughs and she'll go, well, do you really mean that? And I've gotten better about saying things with intention and being intentional with the things I do. Just like right now, I said, I want this to help people. I do want this to help people. But first and foremost, this is an exercise in authenticity for me. I want to say the shit that I was always scared to say and not worry about who's listening. I love that people are listening. I think it's great. I love that I'm trying something new. But yeah, this is just an exercise in this fucking school of life.
Yeah. And even if you're doing it for yourself, you should do it for yourself, and right? Other people will benefit from it.
Yeah, as long as
Just
it's
with
real.
anything. Yeah. One of my mentors always told me that, even with my business, right? There's a reason you do it for yourself, right? There's a reason to do it for yourself, and then there's a reason for other people. Yeah. So just like anything in life.
So tell us about this coaching, spiritual coaching, life coach thing you do. Breathwork, Reiki.
I do it.
Cosmetology.
So
makeup artist.
Coming up. America's Next Drag Superstar. So right after the pandemic, I hired my first coach, right? Because I was like, okay, therapy burned me a little bit, and I was a little turned off. I was like, I can do it. There was a time where I said I can do it by myself. I was like, I can do it. I'm just going to watch a lot of TikTok videos. I'm going to read all the self-help books. I'm going to listen to all the podcasts. And then I can do it, right? And I tried that for a little bit, and it wasn't like really working. So then I was like, okay, universe, send me like somebody. At this point, I had learned what coaching was. I didn't really know. At first, I thought life coaches, they were just like these like weird people on TV that you saw sometimes, and so I didn't really know what a coach was. Then I learned what a coach was on TikTok.
I really hope you're enjoying today's episode. If you are, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this podcast with a friend that you know this episode will speak to. I'd also love to hear your comments. You can email me at ragingheartonpodcast@gmail.com. Let's get back to the show.
And I was like, okay, so there's literally a coach for anything. They just basically are teachers. They teach you and guide you and kind of show you how to do things. So at this point, I was like, okay, well, let me find someone for me. And I want them to be gay. Um, that was like basically my one requirement. And then the
Hot.
next day,
I want them to be gay, hot.
oh yes, he's very cute. So the next day, literally on my Instagram explore page, he came up, and I was like, oh my god, this is him. You know, he wasn't
Absolutely.
taking any
My
clients
coach.
then. He wasn't taking any clients then, but then I was like, okay, I'll still follow him and whatever. I'll learn from him. But I was like, he's gonna be my coach one day. Literally, not even 3 days later, he's like, I have four. I'm gonna open up some spots for next month. Blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, this one of them is mine. And surely enough, he took me as a client, and like we worked together for a little bit. And like in those months that I was with him, I felt like I worked through like 20 years of shit, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like so much. I felt like um for the first time I was actually able to get to the root, right? And like address the root and not just like point my finger at it. Like I faced it, you know, like I was like, I really um got all of my shadow aspects, right? Like there's a part of me that's like so critical. There's a part of me that's like ashamed, right, to be who I am. There's part of me that like just like everything with my sexuality, all of that I faced with him. And I was like, why the fuck didn't my therapist do any of this for me? Right? I felt like all we talked about was like my parents. All we talked about was like just like stupid shit that they would do. I was like, that got me nowhere. But that, yeah, and like I remember just in one freaking hour long session, I cried more than I had cried in forever, in so long. It just like so much was like releasing. Like it was just amazing. So after that, I was like, I need to do this for other people. You know, like I want to be able to do it. Had always been like a friend that people would come to advice for, you know. Um, so I always felt kind of like, okay, and I love working with people. Every job that I've had has been like people facing. So at first I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this, you know, and um, that was like what, 2021, 2022, 2022 when I finished with that coach. And I've been coaching kind of since, right? So the rest of that year, I was just kind of practicing, getting certified. And then in 2023 was when I was like, okay, I started the actual business. So it's only been about a year and a half that I've been coaching, but it's been so rewarding. You know, like I saw all that it did for me and like how I was able to heal everything, like all of my quote unquote like
So what are
childhood
some of
trauma.
the
No, everything. You never heal it. You never heal it, right? But I was like, I want to do that for other gay men because it's so needed. Like
what are
I
some of
saw all
the
of my friends.
what are some of the
But
things that bring clients to you for coaching? Like what are some of the I know because if somebody's listening and they're like, do I
mhm,
need that? Like would that help me? Like what are
yeah.
some of the
So a
things
lot
that
of
you would
them, there's different like buckets, right? It kind of depends where they are in their own healing journey. I help a lot of clients develop self-love, right? So they're in a point in their life where they know that they're doing the drinking, the casual sex, the dating apps, all of that kind of out of habit, right? To kind of feel something because they're not allowing themselves to feel. There's a lot of internalized shame. And
oh yeah.
so they want to have healthier habits. They want to feel fulfilled in their life and they want to get over the shame, right? They want to be comfortable. So it's a lot of like self acceptance. And then I have another kind of set of clients that have been through some of that already. They have been to therapy or done that, and they're still feeling unfulfilled. Um, they kind of know that they're meant for more, right? And so they want help finding their purpose and just like creating something in their life that where they can give back, right? Because this is, I think, the case for a lot of people, right? Like you want to help someone that's been through all this, everything that you've been through. You
Yeah.
could be a perfect example for them because you've been through all of it. You've been through all of it. You worked through it. You know how to get through it. And so all of my clients are like a version of me, like a past version.
Oh my.
Oh, and then I am helping one client who I absolutely love come out, and that's been it was amazing. He is so brave, so brave. Did a lot of it just like we weren't even planning. We were like planning some stuff, and then he had already come out to people he was like scared to come out to. So it's just it comes to show, right? Like when you have someone that even just like you decide in your head, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna hire this person, where it's really an investment in yourself, right? Like you're choosing, yeah, you are hiring someone else, but you're like really choosing yourself. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
if I do that, it's almost like a decision you make in your head. You just create this like crazy energy. It's like it flows, right? It's just amazing to see.
That's really cool. Yeah, because I know you read The Velvet Rage, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I read The Velvet Rage, and I've said this before on here, but it was like I did 30 years of therapy in 1 week with that book because there were so many missing links that therapists would have taken them years to put it together. And sometimes in therapy, like when you're going to a traditional therapist, like they're headed down one road and they literally have to go to the end of that road to realize that's not it. Bring you back and try a different road. And because you go in and you don't want to just put it out there. I know the first time I went to couples therapy with my ex, I went in and the therapist was like, okay, tell me about the fights. And I'm like, well, we were at dinner the other night and I was like, quit looking at your phone. Like you're looking at everybody else's dinner, but you're here with me. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's tough. Are you sure you didn't say, put your fucking phone down before I throw it through the goddamn window? And I was like, oh, fuck. Did he call you before we got here? And she was like, no, but the fight you're explaining wouldn't bring you to therapy. Like, tell me the real shit. Like, tell me what the fuck happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, all right, here goes, bitch. Like, and I let her have the truth. And we didn't stay together. And she was honest enough to go, do I think you guys are going to make it? No. But that's up to you. Like, I'm not in control of your relationship. She said, but like, you still have all this shit and baggage, and you have all this baggage, and you guys want to throw it in a big pile, and you want me to make something pretty of it? Like, fuck that. Like, you need to work on your shit. You need to work on your shit. And she was my favorite therapist. She retired, but I like a bitch that'll smack me around a little bit and tell me the truth, because I had gone to so many that were so loving and sweet, but we weren't getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The people pleaser in me was asking them more about their life every session than we were getting into mine. I'd be like, how are the kids?
Yeah.
Like, did you see your family? And I'm there to work on me. I mean, they had to have seen it, but yeah, this bitch wasn't playing. And she was the first one to introduce me to the inner child. She was the first one to call me on my bullshit and be like, this is what I think. This is this. And I grew up with so much religion, and I would start talking about religious stuff, and she would go, that's cute. Let's talk about facts, like scientific facts. Like we can move on to the woo-woo stuff later. And I was just like, holy shit. I didn't know how to be fake with her because she wouldn't allow it. She was perfect for that moment in my life, but yeah, she was rough as fuck.
I think everybody needs a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like and it just depends on how you are able to take things in. Because there was a time in my life, if someone talked to me like that, I would have shut off completely. I needed the love. I needed like
remember
the nurturing.
We got into the truth of who I was in the first session when I told her exactly how I would fight, and she knew I could take it because I could sure dish it out. I was not a nice person back then. I mean, I could cut you with words so quickly. I know my partner now, we were talking about this yesterday. I said, I'm so glad I'm not the old me that would say the things that come across my mind, because I could really fucking destroy a person with words. Like, part of being empathetic is also being able to see people's weaknesses. And there was a time I would use those weaknesses in a fight. Um,
Mm.
I was not nice. So, yeah, I needed that bitch.
Yeah, I'm sure that was like the only way that you would have taken in the information, right? Like you
Yeah.
kind of needed that. If someone would have been like, "Oh, me," you'd been like, you would have written them off right away.
Absolutely. So, what is this? You're doing other things, Reiki, breath work.
Mhm.
Tell me about.
Yeah,
I love some woo woo shit now. I'm to that point again.
they're kind of supplements, right, to the coaching. It all blends together. I got certified to do breath work last year, 2023, but I've been kind of doing it a little bit with my clients. But the type of breath work that I do, which is called breakthrough breath work, is just so incredible. Like it's all through the mouth. And the first time that I did it was with my coach, John. And that was like completely life changing, right? Like it's basically like you're taken into this journey while you're breathing. And the beautiful thing about breath work, I should say, is like it really connects you to your subconscious. It connects you straight to like your nervous system. And it's just the gateway to heal your body naturally, right? Like at this point, and I'm seeing this a lot also with like clients, you've intellectualized all of your trauma already. Like in your head, you've already processed it. It's really just comes up in triggers because it's still in your body. Like your nervous system is what needs to be healed, right? It's like you already know where you are and you almost like made peace with it, but it's still in your body. Breathwork is an amazing way to work through all of that. Like you can laugh, you can cry, you can scream. Like there's just like things that come up, depending on like the journey, right? Because there's like prompts that you say, and the music helps, and it's just been amazing somatic work. Um,
So, is it
Reiki.
is it like you're in the dark, you're like,
Your eyes are closed, yeah, and then I basically guide them through a visualization as they're breathing, as you're listening to the music. So it's like a whole experience. This type of breath work, right? I do also more basic ones where you're just breathing, right, to calm them
yeah,
down. But this is like a, it's all through the mouth, and so it's almost like a lot of people. And for me, it's a little psychedelic because it releases DMT in your brain. So I have like visions sometimes, time travel, whatever you want to call it. Like your eyes are closed, so you kind of just like go
yeah. I
through.
think
That's why
that
I
is
call it
fun.
like a journey.
Yeah, I know. Like, if I have done the work meditating
Hmm.
and I have practiced journaling and getting the noise out, and I've been, let's be fucking honest. Nobody is 100% all the time. You might be. I'm saying nobody as if I know
No.
everybody, but that's what happened this past week is I was not doing the things I knew I should be doing, because sometimes just starting is the hard part. So some days you don't meditate, some days you don't journal. There are points in your life where you're really good about it. But when I do those things, like, I will see things, and I will have these really weird moments where I don't want to say I foresee things. I don't I My inner child will speak to me in a voice um about some of the most basic things, but it happens when I have done some work to get quiet, get the
Hmm.
noise out. Um, and I will have dreams when I've been better about that. I did have the strangest dream the other night. Those things happen after I've meditated, or
Hmm.
so breath work.
Yeah, it's because you are a channel, right? Like, or imagine you're like a cup. And so all of these things are trying to come through you. But if you're full of repressed emotions or like unprocessed emotions, you're just whatever, right? Like the gunk of your day to day, they can't come through you. And so, having a devotion to this kind of practice and staying disciplined, which we all have our days, right? And I'm not perfect either. There's days when I wake up and I'm not feeling it, right? Like it's just like, okay, I'm going to leave that. At some point, maybe I'll do it in the day. At some point, not. But um, that's like the point of having that kind of practice. So you like set yourself up for the day, and then you have all of this. And I think as you continue in your journey, you are going to see more and more of the benefit of doing that in the line of work that you're doing. Like it's just going to be amazing for you. It's going to be so good for your family, or even like your relationship is going to improve. It's just going to be it. You can only benefit from doing those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen improvement in everything, and I hate to get. I know people are sick of hearing how great my life is right now. It's really good.
Say it.
I know, but it's just so good, and it's not that I want to brag. Yesterday.
That's the people pleaser in you, and
yeah, but the
podcast
that I've recorded, I was on another podcast yesterday, and it was the first time I've really gone back and talked about the me 20 years ago that was on meth, because it's like a different life. I'm not around anything like that, and after spending an hour talking on this podcast, which is really made for gay men struggling with meth addiction or like in recovery from it. I texted him last night and I was like, I really appreciate this because I'm looking around and wow, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember when they were, hauling my car off because I didn't make a car payment while I was doing meth. And yeah, I have this amazing, beautiful life. And sometimes we don't stop and realize how far we've come or just how much the universe is on our side, like really on our side. So now Reiki.
Yeah.
You like my ADD?
Yes. 100. It's okay. It's okay. I love it. That's how my brain works too.
Good.
But yes, like the universe is on your side when you decide to like be on your side. You know what I mean? When you choose you, everything aligns. There's always a way. And so Reiki, I just got attuned, is what it's called, the Reiki attunement, a couple of months ago. And that was truly just another incredible, life-changing couple of weeks. So essentially Reiki is a healing energy, right? And that I channel. So I love this description that my teacher, Katie, so she said that you're like a television. It mentioned you're a television, and like the old timey ones where you had to like program the channels in. Old timey, I don't know if they're still. I don't watch a lot of TV besides like streaming stuff,
I don't.
So I don't really know how the channels
are, but you twisted a dial and then you went outside and you twisted an antenna on the side. Old school, and we used to have phones that...
So you have the antenna. You were the antenna, right? And so like Reiki is just like they program another channel in you. So that's how it is for me. And so I'm able to channel that energy and send it to patients, clients, however we're going to call it, other people, right? And so the way I describe it is like acupuncture without the needles. Like it works on the same meridians, like the same energy channels in your body. Have you heard of qi or qi? Like qi, the Chinese like
it's
energy
called what?
In the body. Qi.
Qi. Yeah.
Qi. Maybe you've heard of that, right? So essentially, it sends good qi over to you, and the more that you do it, the more that it helps you physically, mentally, emotionally. Like there's layers, right? Like now they're using it in hospitals for cancer patients. Like even now, like the Western world is catching up to this, or Western medicine is catching up to that, because there's so many amazing benefits. So I also include that for my clients virtually, which again, it's crazy how it works. But it works for, like, I could send you some right now, right? Like I could Reiki you at this moment and you would feel it there where you're at.
I know. I went through this period where I would watch NDE, near death experiences, where people would die and they would all come back. And it was so cool how all of their stories were the same in
Mm.
some way, but they would say the first part of the story usually reflected what your belief system was growing up. So
Mhm.
if it was Christian, it would be more like that. But the most interesting one to me was an atheist. She went through the same things. Everybody would eventually go to this like advisory board, and
Mm.
you would kind of go back and watch your life, the good and the bad. And they were like, but you weren't judged. But there was something that she said. She said, I had an immediate realization that all of my thoughts were energy, and all of that energy affected not only me, but it changed the course of some people's lives. Even the things I never spoke out loud, just negative thoughts I had about a person, I was able to see it transform and shift the rest of their life.
Mhm.
And so when she came back, she was like, I now realize, like in the fourth grade, I had a friend of me who was my best friend, but also we didn't really like each other. We were fourth grade girls, and my negative thoughts about her changed some of the course of her life just because I instilled that in her with my thoughts and my energy. So I thought that was so powerful.
Yeah. Think of all the, I
It has
mean, I don't
made
know
me
if you were
think
bullied
about
growing up, but
it's made me really think about the thoughts that I have about people.
yeah,
It's also
about yourself,
I'm
about yourself.
yeah, but it's
Just
also
even with
made me
yourself,
think
you
I have to be careful because there have been a couple times I thought, "Oh, I hope that fucking changed the course of your life."
know. Well, now you know.
But I don't mean that. Yeah, I did it. I'm just yeah, I'm gonna be fucking real. But yeah, sometimes you still have to fight that person inside you.
Yeah,
Sometimes the inner child is
parts.
naughty.
Well, that's probably not your inner child. That's probably another. That's probably your inner teenager. I don't know, something else. You have a whole,
Yeah,
you have a whole council up here of different parts, literally.
absolutely.
But yeah, that's okay. So to my point, right? Like you are programmed. That's a channel for you. Negative thoughts, positive thoughts is a different channel. You can send that right now. Humans can send that, right? And you see the effect that it has. And so Reiki essentially is just another channel. Um, but I believe, I don't know if it was Dr. Joe Dispenza, this doctor, but I was listening to his audiobook where they've proven now they see how thoughts are an energy, right? Like, because a thought turns into
Yeah,
like an emotion, and like emotion is like what's the energy, right? Like the thought turns into the emotion, and the emotion is like what is essentially like comes out of you, right? And you can see it. There's also like your aura, right? Like people say aura, like that's also proven, right? Because that's it comes out of your heart. It's like an electromagnetic field.
yeah.
There's like a machine that can read it, and you can see, right? It's different. Like you can when someone walks into a room and they're pissed off, you if you're not even looking at their face, you can just like feel it, right? So all of this, like more and more, is being proven now by science, right? Like the some of this woo woo stuff.
Well, I think so many people tapped into that and knew about that, but were raised to believe that it was somehow something you had to beg for from God, and it was sort of controlled by the church, like this energy thing. The church has always said people were healed or things would a miraculous would happen in people's lives when they would pray for it, but I do believe that.
Yeah, I'm
I don't believe it's only the church though, and that's the thing is the rest of the world didn't realize that they could tap into this. Like I believe we have the power to make ourselves sick if we are constantly focused on being sick. I believe
Mm-hmm.
we tap into such a minute amount of the power that we hold at birth.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I like to think of God, whatever God is. I don't have a hardcore definition or thought because I feel like I'm here to learn and I don't want to put limits on any of these things. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like we're begging this imaginary person in the sky to step in and do these things for us. And I imagine he's looking back down at us going, it's already in you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
go inward, go inward. And, even the Bible
Mm-hmm.
talks a lot about us being the
Mm-hmm.
same and it being
Yes.
inside of us. And, these
Yeah.
things were written so long ago that, yeah, like, go inside you. The power is already there, whatever it is. And you don't have to call it God. You don't have to call it, you're born with that part of you inside you. You're
Yeah.
born with this incredible light that so many of us never tap into. And when you start tapping into it, it can be really lonely. I know for me this year,
Mm-hmm.
I've lost so many fucking friends or
Yeah.
acquaintances and I'm not yet sure, is it me? Is it them? And yesterday I was having this thought of, fuck, is everybody going to go away? Like, is this part of the healing? And the problem is I can't go back. Sylvia
Mm-hmm.
Plath said in one of her poems, and it was my favorite line ever, once one has seen God, what is the remedy? Like, once you know something, like, it's hard to go back. So I was like, shit, I wish I could go back and just have all the acquaintances and noise, but I couldn't. I couldn't. Like, that person was so exhausted.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally resonate with all that. Like, it was the same for me. Like I'm still holding on to a lot of friends, right, from a past life, quote unquote. Um, but there's obviously, I'm not as close because we don't have the same interests anymore. But yeah, it is a lonely road. I think a lot of friends kind of fall off to make room for new ones, ones that are into everything that you are doing now. But yeah, yeah, where you were talking about the Bible, yeah, there's so much in the Bible, even about like manifestation, right? That it was written there and it's just been twisted and manipulated across times. And I'm not Catholic, Christian, or anything, right? You can look at that book as like mythology, whatever you want, but it's 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 all there, right? And like even like the stuff that like Jesus was saying and they wrote about, like it was twisted by the church to kind of manipulate. And speaking of manipulate and control, but a lot of it was there of like you said, looking in and like everything that you do to create this life, to create a good life. And I also think that Jesus was doing Reiki. That's where he was healing people. He was
Yeah,
healing the sick with Reiki.
it is. Have you been to the Vatican?
I've been outside of it. I didn't get. I've been to Rome, and me and my little brother did not get tickets. And we were like over it at that point.
It only gets crazier the deeper you go. Like,
But this year I'm going. I'm going in August.
you're going in August?
I'm going back to Rome.
Oh,
Not
fun.
with my sister.
I'm just Rome, or you're going anywhere else?
Rome, Barcelona, and one other city. So when they were, side note, but when my siblings were way younger, like little, and I had like my first big boy job out of college, I told them I would take them anywhere they wanted when they turned 18, like anywhere in the world. And so I like, from then on, I saved, right? That was like over 10 years ago. And so I was like, at that point, I can take them anywhere they want, right? And so it was so crazy because I promised like a 6-year-old that I was going to do that for them. And now the time is finally here. So I did that to my little brother 2 years ago, and now my little sister gets to her trip this year.
But it was really cool. We were there year before last. Um, we went to Rome. And, that's when we saw the Vatican. But I looked around the Vatican and I
Mhm.
thought, wow, if this is not a setup for control. But the thing that they were controlling is the most powerful thing in the world. It's inside of us all. Like, they just
Mhm.
wanted to be in control of it. Not bashing a
Mhm.
religion. I feel like all religions do this. Like, I don't care what your religious background is, all religions have somehow tried to take control of this chi that we all possess and make it theirs. Like, put their stamp on it, make it their brand. And there's no brand. I mean,
Yeah.
just the fact that when you think about the Holy Land, that in this tiny little square, every major religion was born in that square. So,
Mhm.
were there really that many religions, or did the creator reveal himself and everybody walked away and had a different fucking story? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Because a lot of their stories are
It's all
similar.
made up. I think I mean, it's obviously all made up, right?
It,
Like people make,
that's
it's like
what's
a
hard to say because
different interpretation.
I think it's all made up in some ways about something that is not made up at all, but it makes it makes this energy and this power that we all possess seem like a fairy tale because they put so many fairy tales around it. That should piss my mom off that I just said all that out loud. Hopefully, she won't make it to this part of the podcast.
Mm.
But
Hopefully she does.
yeah, she's awesome. I mean, they're human. They have their own thoughts and ideas and feelings, and
Yeah.
we're all growing. I'm watching my parents grow and learn, and it's really kind of cool and amazing. And what about your
Hmm.
family? How open are they to all
Yeah.
your witchcraftery?
Well, my mom loves Reiki. My mom like loves the Reiki. I mean, they're not, like I said, they're not like religious, right? They're kind of just like they're open, right? They're curious. They're kind of, there's part of me that used to think it's like, oh, that's just like kind of this thing or whatever, like a hobby, like whatever, just
Uh-huh.
leave them. But I've done Reiki on my mom several times, and I mean, it's just nuts because it. I remember one time she had this like horrific pain in her knee. We were in Mexico City, and she had been walking around. We walked like for 5 days straight, essentially, and I Reiki'd her, and it went away completely. And so I remember after that, it was like she was a believer, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but
Let's
yeah, I
be
mean, they're
honest,
into
though.
it. They love it. Yeah.
The Catholicism in especially South America, like where my husband's family comes from, and I have some friends from Mexico that are good Catholics. I mean, they walk a fine line between voodoo and Catholic. They like
Well, because that's that.
some
I mean, not
spells.
voodoo, but there's definitely a lot of that's a lot of it was like Mexican tradition, right? Like I don't know about other countries, but a lot of them that's like what people there like believed in before, right?
Oh
Or
yeah,
like
yeah.
did before, right? Like there was, I mean, all these ancient civilizations that Christian people said were like barbaric or whatever, like they had all these secrets or like quote unquote secrets or like they knew how the world worked. They knew like all of this other mystical side and it was like no good or bad. But yeah, it's funny that, I mean, Mexico is like a colonial country, right? Like you still have that Christian religion there, but like there's still everything
Yeah,
else
I mean,
from like million or thousands of years before that.
it's like they've married what the natives have taught to this
Hmm.
colonized religion of Catholicism, and
Hmm.
they haven't. I mean, they've really made something special out of both. I know my husband's mom was here during COVID, and we would laugh because she would go to her room. She got stuck here. She was supposed to be here for a month, and she was here for over a year because she couldn't get out. And
Wow.
she would go to her room and come out and be like, "Okay, so you have to put one shoe on, do your hair," and it
Yeah.
became like the joke where we were like, all the ways to not get COVID, like Venezuelan style.
Um,
Um, like turn your shoes upside down and stand on the soles. Like, it was just
Mhm.
the craziest, but it was so funny that it
And
was
I'm sure it
all, I
worked.
mean, it was walking the line of the voodoo for sure. But yeah, it was sweet
I
to
love
be
it.
with her during that time. So
Oh, sure.
where could people like find information about Martin Diaz and maybe sign up for coaching, your website?
So TikTok or Instagram is what I use to share my message. It's I am Martin Diaz, both for both. And I'm sure you will link it for people if they want to find it. My DMs are always open. People send me DMs, and that's a good way of like us getting to know each other and seeing if coaching is right for you. Because I mean, I'm not the type of coach or even businessman, right, to like just want to work with everybody. If I know that it's not right for them, I will make sure to let them know.
Yeah.
I want what's best for the other people. But yeah, I am Martin Diaz.
So do you have your newsletter back up and going?
I'm revamping it, but you can still sign up. I have a gay guide on self-love, right? That everybody is that's a free guide that everybody could read before, like in the in between. But I am revamping my newsletter to make it come out weekly, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. I
Oh, that's
can't
cool.
wait. I'm learning a lot of
I'm
stuff.
excited.
That's one of them. Yeah,
Well, I'm excited
me
if
too.
maybe during your move, you make it this way and we can record one here.
Hmm.
That would be fun.
Yes, I would love to be in the studio.
Yeah.
For your
It's
listeners, I'm in San Diego right now, but I'm moving to Miami. I might drive through, which is the plan as of right now. Do a little road trip with my mom. And
you're gonna do it
drive
with
through
you.
Georgia. She will. She's
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
So
Hmm.
this will be your room. It looks like a studio. It's really just the upstairs guest room.
I love it.
But this
I'm
was
gonna
really
just record
cool.
myself all night.
Yeah. This is cool because I think a lot of people have questions about these things. And,
Yeah.
some people will be like, that's weird. That's whatever. But I know there are people out there like myself that we're looking for something. We're looking for tools because
Hmm.
once you tap into this next phase, this next step, like you realize there's
Hmm.
so much that I don't know about that I need to
Oh yeah.
tap into and to try. And yeah, this is
Hmm.
exciting.
And from my personal experience, I find that queer people are so much more easily tapped in to this world once they get curious and actually are open to it, because I don't know, maybe it's something with that we have such like a strong male and masculine and feminine energy inside of us already that we did, and or maybe it's because we've already like in this life have had to break away with like different kinds of identities and labels, and so we're just like
Yeah, and
more
I think
naturally just more open-minded.
once you get past trying to be this person you've created and you tap back into who you really are when you like really go back to who you were before you created this person.
Hmm.
Um, and the weirdest, I wouldn't say the weird, it's the hardest thing is knowing that this person you've created, you have to say goodbye to because
Hmm.
it has served you so well to get
It's
you
a
to this
grieving process.
place, but
Hmm.
it won't serve you in your authenticity. It won't serve you in your healing. It will
Hmm.
protect you and it will serve you as a protector to get you to this point. For some people, just to keep us alive, but you get to
Hmm.
this point and realize you have to say goodbye. I think this week I was having a moment where I was realizing and mourning the loss of this person, that person.
Yeah, it's
And
big. It's big because we do whatever we can to survive, right? Like that's amazing. Like our subconscious, our bodies, our brain, our heart, everything
and
will do it, whatever it has to do to protect us.
I'm not angry at the person I created. He was successful and he was funny and he was liked and all of those things. Like, I'm very grateful for that person. And yeah, I'm, but there is a mourning process that I'm
Mm-hmm.
finding out, not just mourning the loss of the person I created, but mourning the loss of the life that he created around him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and letting things fall away. Really celebrating this new place and this, in my relationship, the love is so much better. Not just the love, the sex, everything's better when you're vulnerable. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so hope I didn't scare you bitches away from healing. That's the funny person.
No. It scared the people that aren't ready, but it'll attract the people that are.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I believe that.
So that's part of sharing your truth. That's part of it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just thought of an idea. Maybe when I drive through, we can have a little like ceremony for our past selves, to let them go.
That would be awesome.
Something, like formal. You can honor them for getting you to where you are today.
Yeah. I would like that. This is really good. I'm so glad you did this. I love your vibe and your energy. You're a really sweet person. And
Thanks, Brian. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for having me, for creating this space, as a Scorpio moon. I feel you, and I know how deep you want to go, and I know like it's like you want to help, right? And it's just amazing to see, and I honestly can't wait to see where it goes, and I can't wait to meet you in person and do this again.
All right. Thank you so much, Martin. Lots of love, and we will talk soon.
Bye, everybody.
You made it all the way to the end, and I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, hit that like button. Share this with others. We're really trying to grow this podcast and get the word out to so many people right now. If you would like to tell your story, or you just have a comment to tell us we fucking suck, or you really like the show, you can email me at ragingheartonpodcast@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. Even the shitty stuff, I'll probably use it in an episode.